Huh. Yeah, that sounds not annoying or anything. Hey, what's up everyone? You got Mind Circus here with you, and today what's on my mind is Spectre. But before we get into it, if you are new to the channel, new to Guild Wars 2, or just haven't done so yet, I am currently farming likes and subscribes in an effort to build the channel. If you want to hook me up with one of those just below the video, that would be phenomenal. So with that out of the way, Spectre, you know what? There's a lot to look at here, both good and less good. So let's get into it. Support Thief is something I have been stoked for a very, very long time. As a person who plays a lot of support characters, a meaningful option on Thief is a really big deal to me. I spent about 4 or 5 hours total on it. I split the time between a Condi open world build and a PvE support setup. Overall, I love the concept of it as some kind of form of shadow mage. The class fantasy on this one is top-notch. One big plus to the spec is I actually really liked the particles and spell effects. It looked absolutely gorgeous. The wells are a natural fit for the spec, and they work well, though I did find sometimes that the shadow step on every well was a little counterintuitive, I guess is the best word for it. The Scepter, however, as much as I liked the idea of it, fell short in its execution, largely because of its numbers, and its sound design is absolutely awful. But first, let's get a good look at how I built this and how it worked. So what I will do here is just pull up my build. And first, we'll take a look at the support option. So for the support option on this, I ran Trickery, Shadow Arts, and Spectre. Thrill the Crime, which is a little bit of might, some swiftness, and some fury for your group. I ran Bountiful Theft. Stealing grants you and nearby allies vigor. And I ran Quick Pockets for the initiative gain. Though the initiative is a little bit different, particularly in here, but this is probably replaced with a different option. Shadow Arts, Merciful Ambush. When you apply stealth to an ally, they heal. Okay, this is going to be kind of a really fun little thing, particularly when we're running it with Shadow Refuge. We're running Shadow Savior, which will heal, your heal, and healing nearby allies for a larger amount after a Shadow Step. This means that every Shadow Step you do, and the wells all included Shadow Step, will actually do a little bit of area heal. So, very powerful area healer, actually, despite what we were kind of led to believe about it being a single target support. Its area support is actually pretty strong as well. Let's take a look here. We're also running Shadow Rejuvenation, Regenerate Health, and Initiative while in Stealth. All right, this may be better with one of the other ones here, but none of these are really great options. Spectre, we're going to be running the bottom line, so we're going to be running Consume Shadows. Consume Shadows is busted. We'll get into this in a few minutes, but this is a severely busted trait. Traversing Dusk, heal allies in an area around you when you Shadow Step. Okay, where have we heard that before? And then Shade Step, so Siphon now grants you barrier when targeting enemies. This is pretty much how I ran it. If I wanted bigger heal numbers, I'd probably go with Second Opinion on this one. Where a portion of your condition damage is converted to healing power. Let's take a look at the gear that I ran on this. So we'll go into equipment. We'll take a look, and I'm running all Plague Doctor's gear with Monk Runes. Pretty no-brainer. This spec really kind of felt like it was made for using Plague Doctor's gear, to be honest with you. Again, here I don't actually have sigils in the weapons. You probably want to use a concentration and a transference sigil in these, but even without any kind of sigil in there, that worked really well. But I would think that obviously the boon duration of a concentration sigil would probably come in very, very handy, and a transference sigil is usually a no-brainer. So that there was the support setup. Let's go over and take a look at the PvE kind of open world solo build that I was running. We were running 100% Viper's gear with tormenting runes. The torment runes, if you are unaware, receive a small amount of heal after inflicting a foe with torment. This is some really good self-sustain. Now, the reason why I did this was to kind of double down on the fact that the Spectre also gives us a fair bit of torment. Before we continue, hey, those of you guys who get triggered by my armor needing repairs, hey, I'm sorry in advance. I just ain't nobody got time for going ahead and hitting an anvil. In the weapons, I'm running a Sigil of Torment, and I am running a Sigil of Bursting. And in the Scepter here, I actually took the Sigil out. Let's talk about the Scepter in a couple of seconds, though, because really, in open world, the Scepter was awful. And we'll just leave it at that for this moment and come back to it. Going over into the build here, all right, we have Deadly Arts, we have Trickery, we have Spectre, Deadly Ambition, okay, Reveal Training, and Potent Poison. We're running Thrill of the Crime, we're running Pressure Striking, and we are running Deadly Ambush. Under Spectre, we are running, which I thought was kind of the damage roll, which is the top line. In Second Opinion, we're running Larcenous Torment, which would increase our torment damage, and we would be running Strength of Shadows. I'll talk about the open world bit here on Spectre now at this point, and I think it's probably the best way to start. The open world build was solid, but honestly, it wasn't doing anything that you can't already do better on Deadeye or Daredevil. Really held back by the Scepter. So let's talk about the Scepter now. The damage is ass. The damage is deep fried ass, to be honest with you guys. It's awful. And I get that the Scepter is supposed to be a support / utility weapon, but honestly, it's just awful. I spent a good hour trying to find out why my damage was so low with it on full Vipers, until I just finally gave up, switched over to the old pistol dagger combo, and suddenly everything was fine. This is all compounded by the way that the traits are working in Spectre itself. There's no real meaningful selfish damage build option other than the Torment option here. So let's just take a look. So this Torment option is really kind of nice, where it's giving you the damage increase of 20% off your Torment, which is really great. But the Torment coming off the Scepter is not really fantastic, and we'll just kind of leave it at that. You know, I get it, I really do, but you know, just about every other Elite Spec that's ever come out has an option to do solid DPS as well as a dedicated support option. And this is true for Scourge, it's true for Scrapper, it's true for Tempest. So why this Elite seems to try and steer me away actively from doing damage is a little bit puzzling, just about every trait in the spec seems to be, or in actual Spectre, seems to actually be there for support. And okay, fine, I get it, I guess, but there's some really cool class fantasy that's kind of getting lost when you are making it support only. And when I'm losing that Scepter, which could be really, really cool for doing some damage, and, you know, I kind of had it in my head that it would be some kind of, you know, Thief Scourge hybrid in terms of its damage, just wasn't doing the trick, really wasn't doing the trick. And, you know, maybe this is the vision for the class, or maybe this is going to get iterated on. Only time will tell. You know, at the end of the day, it's not awful. It's just that you're probably better off, and when I say better off, I mean much better off playing Daredevil or playing Deadeye, and definitely you're better off not using the Scepter in a damage roll, even in full Vipers. The support, however, is top freaking notch. The barrier that this spec outputs is just ludicrous. It's super easy to perma alacrity. While giving the quickness I found was a little bit janky, it now stands as the only spec other than Chrono that can actually give both quickness and alacrity. This is in addition to the barrier and the strong heals, and it really puts this in a great spot. And not only is it in a great spot in terms of the numbers that it's outputting, it's fun to play the support. It's an active, fun support style that I really enjoyed. So to say that it's fun support, you know, it's much more engaging than say Scourge is, you know, because if you've played any support Scourge, you know, a fair amount of that is just rolling your face across your keyboard and kind of leaving it at that. It's much more interesting to play in that regard. So really in a good spot. It does, however, cap out at 5 people, while, you know, your other obvious alacrity option being Renegade can easily do 10 and perma 10. So also it's a weak might generator, where even Deadeye could perma both full might and fury on a group. That said, these are understandable trade-offs. I love this spec for support. I didn't feel that it was a single target heal only. The traits that you saw we were putting in there that healed off the Shadow Step, etc., were really strong, particularly in the Plague Doctor's gear. I also put Shadow Refuge on my bar for a little while, and Shadow Refuge was doing an absolutely fantastic job of a small quick area heal in addition to, you know, the healing well. So absolutely fantastic there. So the heals, the barrier was more than enough to keep multiple people alive, in addition to being able to focus that extra support on one person, and I thought that was really fantastic. In terms of the downsides on this one, I found the current methods of party targeting and the UI tells to be counterintuitive. I think there should be some way to kind of hotkey, say, squad member 1, squad member 2, squad member 3. You know, using the number pad would be really great. I think that would be a fantastic way to kind of deal with that. And I bring that up because that used to be an option in City of Heroes, where I played a lot of support characters as well, and I found that a really effective way of kind of juggling multiple people. As I mentioned earlier, the constant shadow stepping off the wells was a little much, so I kind of felt it was a little kind of off, so to speak. But worked well, and I'm not going to complain about it. Really happy with the support options on this one. So my feedback list, number 1, and I really think most important, the sound design on the Spectre was absolutely awful. I found myself actually just wanting to turn off all sound in the game, and that's strange for this game, which generally has such high quality sound design. So I'm hoping that the sound design on those Spectres auto attacks specifically are kind of placeholder sound effects or something, because man, that was just awful. As I mentioned earlier, the traits in the damage line aren't really impactful. Scaling to healing from condition damage, and expertise based on vitality. You know, vitality is not something that we would obviously want to kind of put on a full DPS character. So again, it brings me back to my point that, you know, if you want to go full DPS, this is probably not a really good build to do it on. Damage on the Spectre was deep fried ass. It was absolutely awful. The damage numbers, you know, both in terms of the support option and in terms of the running it in full Vipers. And I just want to put that out there that, you know, even a support Scourge in Plague Doctor's gear does a significant amount of damage, and not obviously, you know, top tier damage, but, you know, is contributing to the group. And this did not, and it really just went back to the Spectre, and the numbers that are coming off it were just terrible. Shroud only feels valuable for the barrier proc. I never used it while I was playing solo, and in terms of the support option, the Shroud is for double tapping your F2 to spread that huge amount of barrier out. Anything else is a complete waste of it. So leave it at that. The shadow step on every well was a little counterintuitive. And finally, I found that targeting allies felt a little bit janky. And maybe there's some different ways that can be done to make that feel a little bit more intuitive. But again, I didn't feel that the current methods of targeting allies were really meeting the needs of the spec, and specifically speaking, you know, what the spec was meant for. Being able to target people a little bit more intuitively, or finding out some other way of kind of making that happen, I really think should be near the top of the list of ways to improve this spec. So there you have it, guys. My thoughts and impressions on Spectre. Really like the support options. I'm hoping they're going to iterate on the Scepter. I'm hoping they're going to iterate on the, you know, selfish damage options for the class, because a lot of people play Thief solo, and I think that losing the ability to kind of fulfill the class fantasy of this spec, which I think is top notch. I really like the option, and really backing it up with some meaningful numbers or some meaningful traits would be top on my list of what I'd like to see changed, particularly heading into the final beta test. And that's really it, you guys. I'm going to thank you all very much for making it through this video. If you've got any thoughts on Spectre, if you've found some ways to run it, if you've got some improvements off what I was doing there, absolutely just toss them down to the comments down below. Let's talk about it. Let's kind of get juiced about it. I think it's a really great kind of move, this class, and really excited to play this when it goes live, and just hoping they make a few small changes to it to make it feel a little bit better. And that's it. I'm going to thank you all again very much for watching. I'm going to remind you to have fun in game and min-max your real life. And we'll see you again in the masts.